for as much time as he may consume.
Mr. Speaker, I thank my colleague from Ohio, Mr. Turner, the ranking member of the subcommittee, for yielding. And I also, Mr. Speaker, want to thank my good friend from Illinois, Representative Davis, for the kind words that he just expressed towards Sergeant Paul Saylor and for allowing this bill to come forward today. Mr. Speaker, I rise in strong support of H.R. 6092, a bill that I introduced to honor the life of Paul Anthony Saylor by designating the post office in Bremen, Georgia, in Haralson County, as the Sergeant Paul Saylor Post Office. Mr. Speaker, thankfully, we are at a point today where the Iraqi government is proven to be more and more capable of securing its country, and where al-Qaeda terrorists are on the verge of being completely routed. But we can all agree that the road on which we have traveled has been anything but smooth. Indeed, we have lost 4,166 of our nation's greatest treasures in Iraq, the lives of the patriotic, heroic men and women who have served there. They are not just statistics, Mr. Speaker. There's a story behind each and every one of the brave men and women who have died serving our country in this global war on terror. I've come to know Paul's story very well over the last 3 years. You've heard the stories of other fallen heroes today who are being honored in the same way. Paul Saylor's story is indeed one of courage, kindness, generosity, and devotion to his family and to his great country. Paul was a beloved son to his parents, Jamie and Patty, a beloved brother to little Jamie, his big brother, and a beloved nephew to Linda Kirkland. He enjoyed playing high school football with his older brother and was known for his smile and his caring heart. And my colleagues, I want you to look at Paul Saylor in this poster. He's indeed a kind young man. Since Paul's death, many have spoken of his penchant for standing up for others who were being bullied, for picking people up when they were down. It's a testament to the affection that others had for Paul that of the 5,000 citizens of Bremen, Georgia, his hometown, over 1,500 attended his funeral. Mr. Speaker, it was Paul's sense of duty that led him to join the Georgia National Guard following his attendance at North Georgia College and State University. Upon joining the Guard, Paul probably had no idea that he'd be called upon to defend his country, the freedom in Iraq. But when he was, he bravely answered that call. He served our nation in Iraq as a member of the Georgia National Guard's 48th Infantry Brigade Combat Team. Paul lost his life on August the 15th, 2005, almost 3 years ago, while on patrol in al-Mahmudiyya, Iraq, when the vehicle in which he was traveling rolled down an embankment into a canal. He and 2 of his fellow scout team members died that day. Paul was 21 years old. Sadly, Mr. Speaker, upon being returned to his family, Paul's remains were in a state of advanced decomposition, and they were not able to see him that one last time for the final goodbye. And his family has worked tirelessly since then to assure that the improved treatment of the remains of all fallen soldiers would ensure that no family would ever have to experience a similar fate of not being able to view their son or daughter one last time. As I have worked with Paul's family to address any potential shortfalls in our mortuary process, I have visited at Dover Air Force Base in Delaware, as well as Mortuary Affairs Collection Point in Iraq, exactly where Paul fell, to try to evaluate the current processes and the procedures and identify any areas where improvements could be made. And those efforts led eventually to the inclusion of a provision last year in the National Defense Authorization Act for fiscal year 2007, requiring that all medical personnel be thoroughly trained not only in saving lives, but also in remains preservation before they are deployed into the theater. This training is currently being carried out in the medical training facilities at Fort Sam Houston and the Brooke Army Medical Center in San Antonio, Texas. On a recent visit last month, I was able to determine that the Army is solemnly carrying out this duty, and I am proud to report that to my colleagues. While we could never do enough to support and honor Paul's sacrifice, it is the least we can do to ensure that we honor the remains of our fallen heroes with the dignity and respect that they deserve. Our nation will be forever indebted to Sergeant Paul Saylor. I know he is here with us today, and I'd like to say to him, thank you, Paul. Thank you for your service. And I want to thank his family. Paul, your spirit lives on, and you'll never be forgotten. Mr. Speaker, I ask all my colleagues, join me today in honoring Sergeant Paul Saylor. Vote yes on H.R. 6092. And with that, I yield back.
The gentleman from Georgia, Mr. Gingrey, yields back the